and the inability of marketing to understand what those numbers are and what they mean. Use AI. Like, if you don't have good numbers, look at benchmarks. Type into any AI tool that you're using. Like, here is our solution. Here's how much it costs. Here's what we've done historically.
Welcome back, Justin. We've got another episode of Tech Qualified, and today we're going to talk about ROI and measuring ROI for marketing. This is something that you hear a lot in sales calls. I hear a lot about this just working with clients, and it's something we definitely get a lot of questions about. But to you, what does ROI mean when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I wrote a post the other day about table stakes marketing. I think there's two different sides to the ROI of marketing. So I think part of it is you have to do marketing. You have to spend money on marketing as a business. I think that there is now, disclaimer, I'm going to talk about the ROI of growth marketing and how you do need to be able to attribute things and have success metrics and what have you. However, I'm starting at the very front of this question, which is there is a common thing I see across organizations that is a CFO, a CEO, whomever, a board, and they want every single marketing dollar to be attributed to success metrics. And I think that that is a fallacy. To me, there's no difference between marketing as a business function than there is of HR, than there is of accounting, than there is of counsel or attorney. And you don't go to your HR person and say, what's your ROI? Sorry, you need HR as a business. You need marketing as a business. You need somebody who runs your website. You probably need to have, be posting on social. You need to have some sort of blog or way to say that you're alive as a business. And for some reason, because marketing is called marketing, when really it should be called that piece of it should be called keeping your business alive, which I know this is not a live copywriting segment, so we're not going to call it that. But at the end of the day, so we call it table stakes marketing. And there is no ROI to table stakes marketing. You have to do those things because you elected, and when I say you, I'm speaking to business owner, CEO, whoever it may be, who is the top person in charge. You decided to run a business. And part of running your business is having some sort of table stakes marketing running. So there is no ROI. Do not ask what is the ROI of you managing and hosting my website. Now there could be, maybe you work on some, conversions and messaging for the website. I'm not saying that there can't be, but I'm saying you need to have, as a business owner, that whatever percentage you decide of your annual revenue is going to be put into marketing and flushed down the toilet. Now, if it's done well, maybe it returns something. But that every dollar in marketing is not going to equate to $2 because then people would just put every single dollar that they have into their marketing efforts. There is a layer of we have to do this because we decided to be a business, just like you have to do HR, just like you have to do the other thing. You have to do your accounting. You have to file your taxes. There is no ROI to that, although maybe there could be if you whatever. But you see what I'm saying. So that's where I want to start. I'll let you ask another question, Baylee, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I think you make a good point. There might not be a direct ROI for everything. There are attribution models, really expensive ones that you could probably use to figure some of that stuff out, but it is table stakes, and it's just the price to create trust with people.
Yeah. Cost of doing business. I mean, you have to do these things. I don't know. Baylee works on a lot of our internal marketing efforts. I don't go to her and say, what's the ROI of, and I take it a step further because I believe in this stuff. I don't ask, we're doing this show, Tech Qualified. I don't go and ask her, what is the ROI of this show? It's important. We use it for a variety of things. We use it to keep our blog updated, to keep content flowing, to keep social media rolling. For me, that's an investment I'm making in the business. I don't go and look. I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm saying that I don't, and that's probably a layer further than having an updated website and
Yeah.
making sure that you look like a company that is in 2026.
Yeah. So obviously there's things that are table stakes marketing, but there are other things that probably have a direct ROI. And this, I think, definitely ties into figuring out what the goals of an organization are. And I know you have a lot of conversations with companies and you ask, hey, what are your goals this year?
Mm-hmm.
And what are some of like the most common things you hear from people?
Yeah, so ROI when it comes to growth marketing and wanting to grow your business is definitely a thing. And so, I think that there are ways to calculate ROI. It's funny. I do have people who come to me and they say they just want more, and then I go the other direction. So the beginning of this recording, I'm talking about how, there are things that are table stakes, but then on the other side, I actually, when I'm asked to provide true ROI to a company based on their desire to grow as an organization, I need that to be very defined. And so I go the other direction, which is when people come and they're like, hey, we want to increase. And they may stop there. But like, we want more. We want to grow. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? How can we prove that we're going to do that and to be successful? And then I get blank stares. I actually wrote on LinkedIn today about how in 15 minutes, I had a call yesterday, 15 minutes, somebody wanted to know, like, so what are you going to do? And I'm like, okay, what's your cost per lead? Or, what sort of metrics do you have historically that I can take a look at? And they're like, well, we're not really sure. That's why we're coming to you as the expert. And I'm like, how, without this data, would I be able to calculate what the ROI of an engagement would be? Because the reality is the majority of our clients, at least the companies that we work with, small, scrappy B2B tech companies, typically not selling like SaaS, like for $40 a month. These are 5 or 6 figure annual contracts that they sell, many times 6 to 18 months sales cycle. So ROI can't be attributed to revenue. It could be attributed to pipeline, leads, opportunities, etc. So what I try to do when we're calculating ROI is really to dig into financial models of, okay, if you spend X, then Y will be the result. And if yes, is that the ROI that you're looking for? So I can give an example. So we had somebody who came to us and they wanted to increase their opportunity, their qualified opportunities by 4x. They wanted to go from one marketing generated qualified opportunity per month to 4. And what we calculated was that there was they was $5,000 roughly. This is a 6-figure solution. It's an enterprise solution. It's $5,000 roughly per opportunity, qualified opportunity. And they wanted to go 4x, but then they wanted to only spend $10,000 a month additional in marketing. And so this is where you get into that more gets people fired. So if you sign up for more and you don't know what more means, you are putting your livelihood at risk. For me, I'm putting my agency at a high likelihood of being fired. For my client, who many times is the internal marketer, I'm putting them at risk of getting fired, because what agencies will do, throw agency out the window, what agencies and internal marketers, just marketers in general, will do is they will be given goals from a leadership group, and they will say, these are many times hardworking, honest, good people, and they'll say, yeah, sure. They don't have the ability in many cases to actually calculate this stuff on their own. And they're like, I'm a hard worker. I was given goals by people. And this is a lot of times like the humility of the people who are in marketing that I work with. They're like, my superiors, these like board members, CEOs, like they know what they're doing. They built this business. So if they give me this goal, it should be achievable. The reality is, in many cases, it's not. They do this like shoot for the stars, land on the moon type situation. where they say, we want you to 4X our opportunities. We're willing to give you $10,000 a month in marketing spend. And hello, puppy. We did, everybody, this stuff is tough. Baylee and I create content from our houses. It's super important for your business. So, got dogs running around. You probably hear mine before the end of this recording. So what I was saying was, there's this mentality by these leadership groups in many cases that they'll say, shoot for the stars, land on the moon. That's a good situation for us. They're being selfish. They're like, I'm going to make my marketing manager, my marketing director, whomever, work super hard to try and hit these goals that are unachievable. But if they do okay, then that's good for us. So let's go back to my equation. So my equation is for X, you get Y. And in this situation, it was $5,000 per qualified opportunity. We wanted to 4X that number. Therefore, the marketing spend should be $20,000 a month. Now, there is, kind of a snowball effect in marketing where, let's say, okay, we're going to actually decrease because we're getting money put into marketing, we're actually going to decrease the amount that a qualified opportunity costs, and maybe we go down to $3,500 or $4,000. Well, still $10,000. So what you're saying here is you want to reduce the cost of a qualified opportunity by 50%. You want to go basically from $5,000 to $2,500 while 4Xing results. Those things that me, in my conscience, I can't sign up for. I know a lot of my competitors will. They'll say they want the retainer. They'll say, we'll do our best. And the marketing person will say to the board, we'll do our best. And everybody's doing their best. The internal marketing person is trying to make their board happy. They're like, I'm going to work super hard. This board, if they gave me these numbers, they must be realistic in some way. I'm going to work really hard. They're giving me some agency budget. They're giving me some paid budget. I'm going to go work my ass off. And so let's say over the course of a year that person generates 3 qualified opportunities per month on a $10,000 budget. They have 150% did their goals, and they failed, according to the board. So if the business had a down year, let's say that number is, they're a big sales-led organization, so that number from marketing really is a small piece of the pie compared to the 10 sales reps that they have who are all generating outbound opportunities, going to events, what have you. And so let's say that the sales reps all had a down year and that business got hurt. And so they look at the numbers across the board. Let's say that the person who thought, well, we're going to aim for the stars, land on the moon, let's say they're no longer with the company. And so now we're just looking at everybody's goals. And we say, okay, this salesperson was at 80% of their goal. This salesperson was at 85% of their goal. This guy was at 92% of his goal. Ooh, marketing only, so they got 3 of 4. They're actually only at 75% of their goal. Maybe we need to move on from this marketer. Reality is that marketer was the strongest player on that team who was given goals that were not possible because the financial model of it does not make sense. That marketer did not push back. The agency took the retainer because they wanted to take it. And that is how you fail on the ROI of marketing. So the ROI you need to figure out, what are we putting in? What is the historical data? What are we putting in? What can the expectations be? And then what do we think realistically that we can beat it by? And I just see that doesn't happen very often. And that's what happens when you hear more. And more can really turn into a lot of really unfortunate things for people in marketing when sometimes they do a great job. And I just think that, unfortunately, that data side to it is not embedded in every marketer's brain. You have a lot of people in marketing who come from creative backgrounds, who are not as business savvy as, somebody who, got, their accounting degree or finance degree. And having those conversations is incredibly challenging. It takes the ability to dissect historical data, understand cost per lead, cost per opportunity, how to generate pipeline, et cetera, and then to put real figures on it. And that, to me, is how you allocate what ROI means in marketing.
Yeah, I think you're going into a bit of like creating a marketing scorecard and just setting realistic goals. So that's like a good example of what not to do is just to blindly accept maybe what you're being told your goal should be. So in a better or perfect situation, how would you recommend going about setting more realistic goals?
Well, we go back to the situation. So, I mean, this exact scenario, the marketing, so we did not sign up for that. And we're working with the marketing person to go to their board and say, these goals are not realistic. And I need goals that are realistic and that are based in any sort of historical context because I'm being set up to fail. And so you need to figure out what it is that you can track, what it is that you have historical data for, and you need to write it down and you need to say, if I do this based on this information, will you consider that a success? And if the answer is no, then you need to understand why and where is it coming from? Because we had a client who was paying $6,000 a month. And, we had to go in a different direction because they said for $6,000 a month, we want to see hockey stick growth as a company. We want to go from 2 million to 4.5 million. And I'm like, we can just say numbers. Like anybody can just say numbers. And I see it. And the inability of marketing to understand what those numbers are and what they mean. Use AI. Like if you don't have good numbers, look at benchmarks. Type into any AI tool that you're using. Like, here is our solution. Here's how much it costs. Here's what we've done historically. What do you think is a realistic number that should be attributed to marketing based on this? They may ask you, like, what are your COGS? Like, how many people are in marketing? What do you estimate that their salaries are? Like, come up with numbers that are based in reality because you're going to be given numbers that aren't. And it's almost like we're giving. So that company was like very private equity based, like VC based. And like VCs just say like, just grow. You got to grow. Hockey stick growth. It's like marketing can't do that. Marketing, if it could, Baylee and I would be billionaires. Like if we could just say, pay me $6,000 a month. We had no paid spend, just $6,000 a month to create stuff. Social media, send some emails. You think I'm going to 125% growth your company next year with $6,000? You were not living in reality. And unfortunately, when it comes to ROI, what I see from a lot of people who come to us, I don't want to say that they're not based in reality. They don't know what reality even is. And you need to create goals. Because Baylee, you know this. The number one thing I'm terrified of any client of ours that doesn't have goals is that they're going to leave because you can't even justify your existence. So you need to create goals, number one. And then number two, those goals need to be based in data. And if you don't have the ability to do that, first off, reach out to us. Like I'll help somebody just, if you want to talk on LinkedIn, I'll give you some advice on how to come up with some of your marketing goals. But like, I'm not even saying like come work with us. If you want to, that's great. But you need to come up with goals, and then they need to be based in true historical data, in benchmark data, in something that you actually feel like you'll be able to do versus just accepting no goals. Just, hey Baylee, just go out there and just work hard and we'll see where it all lands. Great recipe for being fired as an agency, as an internal marketer. Or not even like just let go. We're going to go in a different direction with our marketing. I think you're doing a good job, but like we're not really seeing results, and nobody even knows what that means. And so I think create goals, and then just you have to make sure that they're based in reality and that you have the able to track them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And there have been instances where some clients we work with don't have historical data, or they're a startup. So sometimes we have to spend a quarter of two just figuring out what a baseline is. We got to get some data, figure out how things are doing. And then from there, we do set goals that are based in reality, and we can be more ambitious with that. But you can't just throw a number out there unless you have some information to back it up.
You can use some AI tools to say, hey, like here's our space, here's our average sale price, here's how many leads we're hoping to get. Does this seem realistic? Like you can, even if you have nothing, you can start with like, I'm not saying put this on like an official scorecard, but you can at least know like, what am I trending towards? Like what should I be looking at for what a reasonable number out of gates is? And you kind of benchmark yourself to that. Okay, second quarter, benchmark myself to that. Okay, now third quarter, we have like kind of what I was hoping we would get, what we actually got. Maybe you beat it, maybe you got close, and then you can come up with your numbers from there. So I think my biggest thing with ROI is just trying to build some sort of financial model, some sort of thing that makes sense, that you actually think you can achieve, and that you get leadership to sign off on.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I know we're getting close to time, but is there anything else you wanted to add? Any final thoughts about measuring our ROI or setting goals?
I think the only thing that I would add is just that even though I started this conversation saying that ROI, there isn't always ROI, I think that you should lean into the ROI conversation. But I think that there's just like a line in the sand where you go from table stakes marketing, which is the things that your business needs to be doing, to trying to grow. And then when you start putting more money in and you want to use marketing as a growth channel, I actually think you as a marketer in today's landscape, like I just see a lot of people who push against it, who say, attribution is hard and just trust marketing. You can feel it. I mean, that's just not going to go very far. Unfortunately, I wish it was that. I do that as a business owner. That's my choice. The reality is the world likely won't do that. And so you do need to give yourself numbers and metrics, and that was how you will stay relevant and viable as, a business person. And, so I would say lean into that.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for hopping on to chat about this, and looking forward to our next chat.
All right. Thanks, Baylee.
See ya.
Thanks for checking out Tech Qualified. This show is brought to you by New North, a marketing agency that helps turn your small, scrappy marketing team into a growth engine. To find out more about New North or check out more episodes of this show, go to newnorth.com/techqualified.